constantly waiting, and no one can understand who it talks about, and that makes me worry. I'll go back to where I started, the newspaper, one of the negatives I see about the same about privatising, so the newspaper had about 8,500 workers this morning as a young print. But I think that was much of good next to somebody who enjoyed that thing. Margaret Thatcher actually reduced that number to about 4,000. That's just why the government of the day were handling 4,000 because of the right thing to Labour and the Labour. People are naturally human. What do you do with Scotland does the exact same? And people run businesses, they make their own money in Scotland. Scotland people do that, and they end up in a situation where socialism is finding another factor in Scotland.
Listen, folks, is it okay for you guys if I answer questions as they come, or do you want me to wait to the end? I prefer to do that because you then forget the question. Martin's made the point, just for those of you who never heard it, along the lines of is there an insurance policy that Scotland isn't going to go down the same road as England, and that people are just going to be as greedy, and perhaps our government's going to subsidise jobs that aren't productive just to keep people in employment. I think there's a number of things in there, Martin. I've got to say, and obviously I stand the risk of being accused of being naive, but my overriding philosophy of human nature is that people want enough for their children, for the families, so that their children get more than what you had. To me, that's what you want to do. You want to provide for your children a bit better than what your mum and dad were able to provide for you. No problem. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I don't think there's anything wrong with people having a couple of holidays a week. A couple of holidays a week. That was the rich list of them. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a nice house, a nice car. I don't think there's anything wrong with having nice clothes. Why not? Why not? Working class people produce the wealth in this country. Why the hell don't we share in the wealth in this country? That's the way I look at it. I don't think that makes us greedy. I think it's about satisfying needs and being comfortable. And I think there's more than enough wealth. If you think of it that figure I gave you, £519 billion among 1,000 people. And in Britain today we've got 20 families that get more wealth than 12 million people. I hope I'm getting to it, because what I was going to say was, what you I think were saying, Martin, was that in relation to creating of jobs and maintaining jobs, is it the case that people are going to be kept in employment when they're not doing something productive? Because you seem to be suggesting that in relation to Ravenscraig, there was too many people working there, and the unemployment that resulted, the 4,000 people lost their jobs, was justified. I disagree with you, Martin. I disagree with you, brother. I wasn't there, so I can't give you the same detail that you can give us. But in terms of what we can do with steel making, what we can do with shipbuilding, what we can do with energy production, clean energy production, wind, solar, wave power, I think what we can do is we can create productive jobs and employ people productively, and I don't think they necessarily have to be doing 40 hours a week. I don't think they necessarily have to be working weekends and evening shifts in order to make a living. I think we can run an economy based on producing things that are required and producing services that are required. I get fed up when I hear the amount of stories that I get on the street, at the shops, the bus stop, going to university, about the amount of elderly folk that get named at chaps the doors, named that takes them out any longer. A story in the Evening Times just during the week there, they're starting to charge now, charging the elderly for going to day centres, 45 quid a week to go to a day centre, because Glasgow City Council says they've got no money. That's the type of thing, Martin, I think we should be employing people in. And I don't think that we are in danger of either underemploying or fully employing people. I think we can create real jobs for people with real training. Now, is there a downside to an independent Scotland? Who knows? You know, as I said during my contribution, can you dot the I's, you can't cross the T's. There will be obstacles, there will be bridges that need to be crossed. And they're very, very, very minimal, folks. Is it not enough that see these obstacles and see these barriers? We decide what we deal with them, instead of somebody in Westminster deciding what we deal with them. I think that is worth it. It's worth taking that chance so that Scotland gets in the future. Because I have to apologise if there are any Tories in there tonight. I often make the point that one good reason to vote independence is so we never ever get a Tory government again. And somebody said to me after a meeting recently, Tommy, that's not quite true, because you know, Tories have got about 15-20% of vote in Scotland. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to say we'll never ever get a Tory government here in Scotland unless we vote for a Tory government here in Scotland, which is as likely as me growing my hair back in. But there you go. So from that point of view, I think even with the potential negatives that Martin raised there, I think it's still the case that it's worth taking the chance so that we take those decisions rather than somebody else taking the decisions.
Chair, I point out that Tom Brennan was a convener at Ravenscraig for 18 years, Mark, and we did not carry people. That's not true. Ravenscraig had an economic case. That's why it took them 12 years to close it. McGregor wanted to close it in 1980, and it took him to 1992, but he still closed Ravenscraig, aided and abetted by the Conservative government. But you've got to look at the details of how they closed it, because they took away our economic case. Ravenscraig was economic, they couldn't close it, but what they did do, they introduced things called production pauses and preferential loading, and by doing that, by introducing the production pauses and the preferential loading, they then took away the case, the economic case for Ravenscraig. And the other way they did it was they closed our finishing mill at Gartcosh, which gave it the added value to our product. But knowing the industry, probably a lot better than Martin knows, it was a cyclical industry. I worked in the steel industry all my days, and it's a cyclical industry. It has its ups and downs, and there is periods where it's quiet, but the industry is able to deal with that and handle that. But when you look at what happened to the Scottish steel industry, you know, at one time we had a vibrant industry in Scotland, employing 30,000 people in the steel industry, and that was taken away from us. It was taken away from us by the British Steel and by the Conservative government. And we argued and we fought to have the plant mothballed, and it didn't happen. They wouldn't allow it. But if you look at what happened at Redcar in 2010, when the owners, Tata Steel, closed Redcar in 2010, it was immediately mothballed. And that was agreed by the Conservative government and the owners. And in 2012, SSI came along, a Thai company. They bought the company, they bought the steelworks at Redcar, they restarted it, relit the furnaces, and re-employed the 1,600 people who were sacked in 2010. And that's what happens when you live south of the border, but when you live north of the border, they take your industry away from you. And sorry, I could go on all night talking about the steel industry, but I'm not going to do that. But what I am saying is that, you know, maybe Martin's experience was that where people get covered, but that's not true. It was an economic industry. 12 years we fought it, and it took them by dirty, devious ways to take away our argument. And for that reason, and that reason only, because I do have information at home that clearly states that Ravenscraig was making money. We're producing 41,000, between 36 and 41,000 tonnes of steel every week, and that doesn't happen with people getting carried, let me tell you. Thank you.
Well done. Yay!
I remember people sleeping on their benches, tremendous against the copper line, etc., etc. There was 4,000 people who carried in those
Can I just suggest, folks, personally I think Tommy's answered the points Martin made.
Aye.
each and every one of us have an experience where you're on a bus and it was a rotten bus driver, or you're on a train and you didn't like the train driver. It doesn't mean that all bus drivers are the same or all train drivers are the same. And I think we've got to be careful not to extrapolate from my personal experience to then generalise. I think I would certainly give way to the superior knowledge and experience of Tommy Brennan, and it's a very privileged.
Yeah.
I do have to say to you folks, see if Ravenscraig was making chimney sweep brushes and there was no need for them any longer, I could understand why it was shut down. But you know what? Steel is getting produced across the world. Ships are getting built across the world. And what we've got to say loud and clear is we should be producing the steel and we should be building the ships. That's the potential.
Yeah.
At least you know what the Tories are. For 30 years, we've had Labour politicians masquerading as socialists in this country. They are bigger Tories than what's down in London, from where I'm coming from, especially in this place called North Lanarkshire Council. Miliband's on the other day about 0-hour contracts. They've got a council that prides itself in 0-hour contracts. But my main point, my brother was a global manager with Motorola, and Motorola was closed in Scotland because the English managers didn't fancy Scotland. And secondly, we didn't have the legislation to impose the rules that they had to find out of their job. Or in France, it's 2 years, you must keep somebody in employment, and you must find them retraining, and you must do this, you must do that. You can walk away in Scotland with no redress to the employers. And it's funny how our industry, the Scottish whisky industry, is run by South Africans and people from Taiwan. Scotland's a cash cow for the energy companies, the whisky companies, and all the other companies that are in here. And as for that lot in the financial services industry, to tell us that if we get yes, then they'll be going south. They've failed every one of these in the last 30 years with our pensions, and endowments, and everything.
Aye. Go on, Paul.
That was a fantastic contribution, brother. I never caught your first name.
Frank Corley.
Absolutely brilliant. Two main points, Frank. One is that you're absolutely right about the people that are masquerading as Labour politicians. They should be ashamed of what they've done to the name of them.
Yes.
I'll tell you what the irony is. The irony of independence is the one political party that probably stands to gain most from an independent Scotland is the Labour Party. Because once they are cast aside from that village of Middle England that they keep trying to suck up to, then maybe the Labour Party can return to what it used to be, a representative party for working class people. So the irony of the Labour Party opposing independence is they're actually the one party that's probably got the most to gain from it. And the other point, Frank, in relation to employment, we are the least protected nation in the whole of Europe in relation to sacking workers. They can walk away at the drop of a hat. France, Germany, Italy all have employment protections, which means that employers can't just walk away. In an independent Scotland, we've got to make sure that we get strong employment conditions with trade union rights written into our constitution so that every worker has the right to be represented by a trade union. All of it's possible, Frank, if we just grasp the nettle on the 18th of September.
Absolutely.
How can you convince the female voter to vote for the SNP, for vote the Yes Party?
Female voter, did you say?
There's too many doubters out there, and I don't understand why there is so many. I think gradually they're coming out your way, but
I'll try to answer that. After the Second World War, this country owed 2.5 times, or 250% more than its GDP. At the moment, I'm talking about the UK here, not Scotland, it's about 100%. After the Second World War, the nations came together and decided that they would have full employment. In Britain, we decided, now remember how much debt there was, we decided we would have a national health service. When I went to work, there was 1% unemployment in this country. Everybody had a job. There's no need for people to be unemployed. I'll give you a wee bit of my background, because I'm going to pick up on something that Frank said there with the financial services industry. I went to school and I went to work in Beardmore's, used to be 40,000 people in Beardmore's, was a fitter turner. And the steel industry was shutting down behind me. I kept jumping from job to job, and I was wondering if it was me that was shutting the places down. Eventually I decided that I had to make money for my family, so I was going to become an accountant. Made up my mind, I'm going to go, I'm going to study, I'm going to be an accountant. The government gave me a grant to support myself, and they paid for my education. If we don't educate our children, we don't have a future. If you're asking children to take on, £40,000 or £80,000 if they're going to be a doctor, of debt, how is any ordinary person going to take that on? And that's a mortgage. There's no guarantee that they'll get a job at the end. They want to take a loan. If they get that job, they pay more in tax anyway. We need to educate our people. We need to bring jobs here. We can only do that if we take control of this country for ourselves. There's oil in the Clyde. You can't get at it. The reason we can't get at it is we've got Trident running up and down there. That was was released in the Sunday Post, I believe, a couple of months ago. There's lots that we can do here. We can green energy, 25%